everyone, welcome. I'm Wilma, and today is Worldwide Knit in Public Day. So, although this may not get published on Worldwide Knit in Public Day, it certainly has been recording on the proper day. I'm trying this outside. It's a little windy today. If the wind gets bad, I may have to go in and do it with a green screen, but we're going to make a good try at outside. I first learned to knit when I was about 8 years old, so that means 65, 6, 7 years or so ago. My mother was one of those English war brides that came over after the war. She was just like 2 weeks 17 when she married my dad. And a couple months later, she was on a boat to Canada, Halifax in April, coming from the English spring, and there to northern New Brunswick and eventually to northern Ontario. It's a good thing my mom could knit and sew because things were a little tight. She was always knitting and sewing stuff for us kids, and by the time I was 7, I was the oldest of 5, and I became the oldest of 8 at 15. So knitting and sewing and all that sort of stuff was something that she did all the time. She was a bit of a perfectionist. She would make me rip stuff out. I hated it, and it would take 2 or 3 more decades before I was willing to do that for myself. And now, of course, 6 decades later, I see a mistake, gotta go, rip the whole thing out. Knitting has always been sort of a refuge for me, something that, I could do, just to keep busy, for the creative fun of it. At one point, as a single mom, I would knit Fair Isle sweaters and put them into the craft places and souvenir shops in town, and then I'd sell one and they'd say, "Hey, we sold a sweater, do you want money?" And it would be hot dog day at school, paid for, or some other kind of extra treat. So knitting was not only something that I liked to do for me, but it was also, something that sort of stretched the budget. Of course, now as a senior and being locked down with COVID, knitting has been a lifesaver. As I mentioned in a previous episode, COVID and cancer came at the same time for me. One of my refuges for handling the cancer and COVID at the same time was knitting bottles like this with the cancer symbol. Make them in different colors. Take a look. And these, I give these away to people that I know who have had cancer, or I will be donating a few of them to fundraisers, that sort of thing. It's just something that keeps me out of mischief and makes me feel like somehow I'm doing, a little bit to fight the cancer thing. I also started looking at chemo caps. Now, as it turns out, I didn't need chemo. I just had the radiation. But I have a whole slew of chemo caps. Take a look. And then when we got locked down yet again at Christmas, I started on shawls. And some of them I used in my stash, and others you can knit, and some you can knit from just one skein of wool, like this one. And this. I discovered something else online, and that is knitting for designers. All those lovely patterns come from somewhere. They're the brainchild of some meticulously minded individual, enormously creative, perhaps not obviously, but certainly mathematically talented, because knitting is mathematics, don't you kid yourself. So this is one of the sweaters. This is the wool. And this is a new designer. She wants to become a well-known designer. So I knit this sweater. I'll show you a picture of it, me wearing it. But look at cables down the sleeve. The 3-stitch bind off around the neckline at the end of the sleeves, and I tried it at the bottom as well. I mean, it was just wonderful, pure wool, something a bit different to do. And she makes all-inclusive sizes from extra small to 6X. Now, who makes patterns for 6X size ladies? Nobody, and it's a darn shame. So that's something that I've started doing. And she doesn't, I am just waiting for wool on a new sweater to do. It's a nice summer top, and I'm doing it in a beautiful turquoise color because that's my branching out color, something new and exciting. Another thing that I discovered online was Mystery Knit Along. That's where you get a set of instructions once a week for 5 weeks or more, whatever. You don't really know what you're knitting at first, and then you get the idea, and it's fun. And I found this lady who is making up a pattern, and she's based it on Monty Python's Search for the Holy Grail. This is an absolute hoot, and you got to see how this goes. You get a set of instructions for the week, and I will be inserting pictures that I have taken as I've been working on this. Look at this. Take a look at the photo of it. And so you start one section from this end, and you start another section from the other end. And by the time you're done, you will have a shawl. And you can either use stuff from your stash, or you can order kits with different color combinations. Go out there, get yourself some yarn. You can even go to the thrift store and buy a bundle and practice. If you want to start off nice and cheaply, check out the thrift store. They've always got knitting needles, they've always got yarn. Good place to start. And I go check them out just to see if there's anything useful in the knitting field anyway. And if you decide you want some hints, drop a message down below. Okay? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.